how do you know when it's time to scale it or versus just selling it and cutting your loss?
Man, that's another great question, man. And I've been in a few situations like that where you kind of get to that point where you can no longer take it to the next level,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not necessarily uh, um, a failure or mistakes made. A lot of times, I mean, you just get to the point where a business, you need to bring in that next person
Mm-hmm.
that has the expertise or just has the passion to get it to the next level, man. There's some businesses where I've just been completely burnt out, and
Right.
burnt out, frustrated, and it's like, man, I know someone else with a fresh set of eyes and new ideas can take this and
Mm-hmm.
run with it. So yeah, man, one of the lessons learned from just working closely with Daryl, he always said, man, that uh, financing real estate and then paying cash for the toys.
Okay.
And he was a serious believer in that. And every time, if we were riding together or if he was talking about his plane, he would always say, the title's in the drawer. And so, like, anything that he purchased, man, that wasn't like a long-term asset, he always paid cash. And he was just saying, man, because it's a depreciating asset.
Yeah.
And I learned a lot, just about assets and liabilities with him, of course. But I really learned a lot about real estate and real estate business. A lot of people don't know, but there's a company in Nashville called Slim and Huskies, which is a pizza company that started in Nashville. They've got several locations now, but he actually helped them out in the beginning. Was actually their real estate partner.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I
they
know
had
Slim and
a
Husky.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So those are great guys, man. And so they're right from the Nashville area there, and he helped them, in the very beginning. They did similar deals like McDonald's, man, where they would buy the real estate and then they would build their restaurants on the real estate they own. So Daryl was a partner with them early on in purchasing real estate for different locations, and so that's one of the things that we talked a lot about, and I learned a lot about real estate through him. And so, I mean, me, man, I mean, I'm the first person, in my family to ever, buy a house, and man, I was the first person to go to college, and man, just so many different things, where, even I mean, I'm 49 now, almost 50, but still, in 2026, man, there are still so many of us that are the first to kind of do these things
Mm-hmm.
in our families. And so, I've been blessed to just kind of be like one of the first, uh, generations to be able to, just kind of have this type of success, man. And so, but yeah, working with Daryl really taught me a lot. And it's sad that he is no longer with us, but he helped and he really touched a lot of people.
Okay.
My condolences to you
Yeah,
and
most
your
definitely. Most definitely, man.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that he was a godsend for sure, an angel for you.
huge. Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
man, definitely huge loss, man. Like I said, he mentored a lot of people. There are a few people that he really took under his wing. Myself, and of course the guys from Slim and Huskies, and so man, I mean, just really taught us how to play the game on a different level.
Well, let me ask you this: what's more important, man? The brand, the systems, or more of the just the capital, or is it all intertwined? You can't do one without the other.
You know, it's almost like you can't do one without the other. But if I had to start somewhere, then I would start with a strong brand.
Okay.
I think people underestimate that. I work with a lot of entrepreneurs now in my consulting business. That's primarily what I've been doing since I exited the company. And what I find is that a lot of people have a successful business and they're doing well, they're making money, it's consistent, but it's not a brand, so it's not scalable, and they haven't built any brand recognition, and so the first thing that you really need to do is establish yourself as a brand. And really establish yourself as a brand is not that you have like a catchy name or a cool logo. It's that, people feel a certain way when they come inside your business.
Yeah.
And, and that's really important. So, whatever you're doing in the business, if it's food, if no matter what it is, I mean, whatever type of business you're in, I primarily deal with food entrepreneurs, but no matter what it is, you want to be consistent with whatever the product is. You want to be consistent with whatever you're posting online, because social media these days is a huge part of branding and marketing. So really establishing a brand, establishing consistency, establishing different values and goals and a culture within the business that differentiates you between everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
So branding is important. Second part of that is going to be systems. Man, if without systems, it's just impossible to be able to grow. It's impossible to be able to duplicate yourself. It's impossible to be able to scale. So having like great systems from the beginning is a huge part of business growth.
Mm.
And so you can have both of those things without having capital. But I tell you what, if you have both of those things, it's easier to acquire capital. So, those would, I would say, having, great branding and great systems, that's going to really take you a long way.
Okay. So when you got out of the peach cobbler, because you're not in the peach cobbler business, you kind of use it to talk more about, you growing and scaling, but
Yeah.
your prime business now, because I'm sure they gave you a non-compete.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what's your prime business now? Just consulting?
So consulting right now, and so I immediately, well, we took some time off, of course, and did a little traveling, and was able to kind of spend time with my kids, who, like, my two youngest kids were kind of getting older. I've got my two youngest are 18 and 21 now. So a couple of years ago when this happened, they were both in high school.
Okay.
And so, we were able to take a little time off, spend more time with them, because just, man, when you're in the business, I mean, it's a 7-day grind.
Yeah.
So, I didn't even know what like a weekend was. It felt so weird after selling the business, and like for the first time in years, not having to do something on a weekend, and having a Saturday free for myself, man. So we took a little time off, and then, the next, just logical progression for myself was I wanted to be able to help other entrepreneurs a lot of the same way that Daryl helped me. And I went into consulting. Really, at first, I was just doing general business consulting, working with new businesses and just helping them establish brand identity, helping them establish marketing plans, and just kind of just overall, working on their business, and just helping to kind of overhaul what they were doing, helping them become more successful. As I kind of went on, I realized that there were so many people out there who had great businesses that could probably scale through franchising the same way I did. So I started leaning more toward franchise consulting, for businesses who were a little more established, who are a little more ready to grow, and helping them through that initial phase of franchising. So that's a lot of what I do now. And you're right, I had a non-compete, so I couldn't immediately go into the food business. I had several people coming at me, wanting me to like invest in this and that and help them, with food. And I just couldn't do it for 2 years. so they had me locked down, for like 2 years, man. I mean, and they were watching me like a hawk. I feel like they're still watching me. Like when people like throw out millions of dollars like that, they don't want you to compete with them at all.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I feel like every day, man, it's still stalking my Instagram page. but that non-compete has just recently been lifted. So now I feel like I'm kind of a free agent. I do have a dessert project. Yeah, I do have a dessert project that I'm working on right now that I'm actually kind of putting the structure together so that can eventually be a franchise as well. But yeah, I'm doing both, man. I'm doing franchise consulting with my company, Franchise Machine. And in my free time, I'm working on developing a new dessert concept.
Okay. Let me ask you, Dave? I know I'm talking over you. I got so many different questions, man. I know if it's something that you want to just ask, Dave, just go ahead, man, and just get to it. But I do want to ask: was it hard to let go of something that you built from scratch? Because I don't know if you remember when we were talking. We were in talks about restaurant franchise for a friend of mine down in Detroit. Shout out to Danita.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
Yep. And she was kind of adamant on keeping it close to the original look and system.
Yeah.
And you were saying that we may have to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So even now, man, I have clients who they're holding everything like so close, man. They're like, hey, I built this and I don't want to change. I don't want to rebrand. I don't want to do this. And I always just try to tell people, man, I can only teach you what I know, right? What I've actually done. I can't, I can't tell you something that I haven't experienced myself. And so it's been my experience in the businesses that I've created and the businesses that I've sold. Of course, Peach Cobbler is the most popular one, but man, there were many before then. And I tell you, like, the reason why I was able to have success and be able to sell those businesses, is because, I was open to change and I was able to, establish like certain systems from the beginning. And sometimes, especially when you're bringing in an investor or you're bringing in a partner, then it's really hard to be able to control everything the way you used to before investors came. Because now, they've got ideas and they've got, certain things that they want to implement into the business. And so you have to be able to be flexible and be able to accept new ideas.
Right.
And franchising, that's definitely the case. So you definitely have to be flexible. I feel at the point I sold Peach Cobbler Factory, I was ready to sell. And so at that point, I'd been in the business for almost a decade. So I felt that really, even though, we were having some great success toward the beginning of franchising, I knew that there were other things that I wanted to do in life. I like I said, I wanted to spend more time with my kids. I wanted to travel. I wanted to have my weekends back. Like right now, even as a consultant, man, I work 3 days a week, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. That's it.
Okay.
And so, man, other than that, I mean, you can't catch me any other time. It's got to be a real emergency to get a meeting with me on a Monday or a Friday. And so I like being able to be flexible. I like having my free time. I like being able to, travel and be able to, go out to a restaurant, in the evening and not having to worry about getting up early to, the next morning and
Right.
having a ton of fires to put out, because I mean, business is always something. So I was definitely ready to get out. And then, when the person that actually bought out the majority of the business was someone who was a billionaire, someone who was a seasoned CEO. He was a former CEO of Albertsons grocery store, which is a huge grocery store chain.
Yeah.
And he had been a former vice president of General Electric. So these were serious people
Mhm.
coming in. These were some serious, heavyweights in the world of business coming in, and I felt like I had built a strong enough business to where even though I was selling it to them, that it could still be my legacy because I felt
Right.
like it was in good hands and that most of the business would stay intact and be able to continue to grow and thrive without me because that's the biggest thing I think as a founder is
Yeah.
when it comes time to exit you're thinking like man will this business be able to like thrive without me, will it be able
Yeah.
to grow, can somebody like a new person come in as CEO and be able to like still grow the business. And, you're hoping it doesn't, nosedive, and so yeah, I was a little apprehensive, but I was definitely ready to get out of the day to day operation of the business.
What was? Go ahead, Dave.
So I got one question. So when they take over and they say, okay, we give you that big check, does your name still
Yeah,
stand in the business as the founder?
hell no.
Yeah. I
Well,
just
as
had
the
to ask. I
founder,
knew the answer, but
yeah.
you
As,
know.
as I mean, as the founder, yeah, they can't really take that away from you, but you kind of
Right,
they push you into the role where like you're like Colonel Sanders now, right? Like
right, right,
you're
right.
just the mascot, man.
And
They
that's the
they don't
first
really
thing I
see
thought
you.
of too.
Yeah.
It's crazy you said that. That's
Well,
that's what I was thinking in my head. Like
listen,
you
man. Piece by piece, they start cutting me off, right? Like
right.
before you sign the all the paperwork and
Uh
before
huh.
the money hits the account, they're like, yeah, man, we want you to still be a part of everything.
Yeah.
Want you to be an advisor.
Uh
Uh,
huh.
we'd love to still have you, a part of the company, and your advice is valuable to us. And man, I'm telling you, as soon as that money hits the account and that paperwork is signed, man, they forgot your name, brother. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
yeah, man, you become I call it the Colonel Sanders effect, man, where you're just the mascot, you're the old guy, uh,
Yeah.
from the business and so you got the founder name, but you got no power. So
Right.
yeah,
Right.
it's over for you. All that friendly talk goes out the window, man. They cut off your email and they stop calling you and they start bad mouthing you and saying, man, your ideas were outdated and we're taking the company in a new direction. So yeah, I went through all
Right.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. Let, let me ask you something. Was this where did the recipe for this peach cobbler come from? Was this like mom's recipe or where did you get it from?
So actually, man, I come from a family that is a baking family, man. My dad is from Shelby, North Carolina, which is a little country town outside of Charlotte, North Carolina, man. So, every holiday, my dad and his family, but like my dad, man, he really he would bake everything. He would make peach cobbler. He would do a sweet potato cobbler, sweet potato pies, banana pudding. One of the first things he taught me to make when I was a kid, man, was banana pudding, and they used to make it from scratch. So I kind of grew up, man, just loving desserts. But when I was married, man, my wife is her family's from New Orleans, which, you know, everybody knows is uh, another famous foodie area. And I tell you, like, everybody makes everything in New Orleans, and it's, you know, man, they can really cook down there. I mean, they've got some amazing recipes. So uh, so her grandmother, Grandma Pearl, which she's still living in her 80s and independent and kind of
Shout
doing
out to Grandma Pearl.
down there still in New Orleans. Grandma Pearl, the original, yeah, man, the original recipe was inspired by Grandma Pearl,
Grandma
man.
Pearl.
So, but yeah. So it just all came together, man, with my love of desserts and Grandma Pearl, and just, you know, me, you know, being able to live in one of the greatest like food cities in America, and
Mhm.
New Orleans, and so yeah, you know, it was the perfect storm. So, you know, it felt, I never knew that was going to be my destiny, being in the dessert business to that level.
Right.
But yeah, all the things came together.
Well, listen, we got a couple more questions, man. So listen, across all these industries that you didn't touch, what is that one skill that made you dangerous after going through all this? When you get in the room, what is that skill that you feel like you learned?
Man, I tell you what, at this point in my life, and like I said, man, I'm 49, I'll be 50 this year. At this point in my life, I really realized, and I thought I knew this, man. I tell you what, I thought that I was a resilient person, right? I thought that I was the type of person that could just like get up after any challenge. You know, I'd always say, you know, fall down 7, get up 8. You know, I would talk all the motivational talk, right? I'd listen to all the motivational guys on social media, and I would quote all the business quotes. And I tell you, man, after COVID, and after almost losing a company that I'd worked so hard for, and then having to like build it back, and having to like literally go to a different state and start over and build the company and sell the company, and then, you know, deal with all the politics of selling the business, man, it's really made me so much stronger. And, you know, what I would tell anybody out there that is in business, and if you're going through like a difficult time, or if you're going through a time of like uncertainty, the best advice that I've ever received is to get up every day and keep moving forward. Like, no matter like what's going on, keep
Mhm.
showing up. And, you know, that's all I did, man. You know, I mean, I'm no superhero. I don't feel like that I did anything special. I definitely feel that I've been blessed, and in some ways even lucky. But, you know, one thing that I was able to do, even during the toughest times, is to continue to get up and to continue to just keep showing up. And by showing up, I just kept moving forward, man. And you know, even today, you know, I face a whole new set of challenges, man. You know, moving to a new city and really starting a different company, and, you know, working on new projects. I feel that in many ways, kind of doing this now at nearly 50 years old, I feel a little out of touch. so, I've got a wealth of experience, but I'm still learning a lot of new things, man. And so, you know, I'm continuing to learn and continue to be a student of the game. I'm learning from like younger people. A lot of my partners now are in their 30s, and they have a whole different outlook on life,
Yeah.
and they shoot a lot of my ideas down. I'm the old guy now, and so, but, you know, you continue to show up, and you got to continue to learn, man. You know, that's it.
Okay. Okay. If you were starting again today, would you start with a partner, or would you go you know, as the lone entrepreneur?
It's a tough question, man, because I've done it both ways all my life. I love working by myself, man. I'm an only child, and so I mean, I grew up like just figuring it out on my own, man. You know, like really, like nobody was coming to save me, right? It was me, man. So I had to be tough. But then I've had some great experiences with partners, and I've had some terrible experiences with partners. So, you know, if I had to do all over it again, if I had to start right, and I tell you what, a lot of times that works. And I've seen it work in certain instances in my life. You know, it's worked for me. But, you know, at the same time, it's when you're the only one in the room, and a lot of times it makes you stronger when you have to make all the tough decisions and everything rests on you. It really allows for tremendous growth, and you know it gives you what I call gravitas, which you know is a real like seriousness about you know who you are and what you're about, and you know you become able to just really believe in yourself and what you can do. So sometimes it's good to be alone. I've learned that lesson a lot. You know, starting the companies that I'm starting now, every single one of the companies that I'm working in right now, I've got partners. And you know, one of the reasons why you know I have partners because I know what I'm looking for. I know what I'm not looking for in a partner. I feel like I'm in business with people that I can trust. And then also, each one of my partners brings something different to the table. And at this point in life, we all have some life experience. We all have some life skills, and so we're able to work together. So yeah, I think there's advantages either way.
Okay.
Mm.
Well, Dave, you got any questions for him before we close out?
What was that
You
feeling?
got that no limit story too, man. If you're ready for the second half of the no limit,
Yeah. Give me the no limit, man. Give us that.
and so yeah, that's a good one to wrap it up on, man. You know, so you know, I think you know we were in the middle of the no limit story a little earlier, and so you know, just to kind of recap a little bit, I was, you know, I graduated from undergrad University of New Orleans in '99, and in 2000 I was in the MBA program there, and then that's when I had an opportunity. I was working at a gym and met these guys who were in the music publishing business, and just happened to know a CEO of a telecommunications company in New Orleans, and they were a fairly big telecommunications company. Like during that time in the early 2000s, the telecommunications industry had just been deregulated, which was controversial. It was something that you know happened under the Clinton administration. You know, a lot of people think you know good. You know, a lot of people think it was bad, but you know, one of the good things that came out of deregulation of telecommunications was now it started to break up the large phone companies. So the you know the big companies like Pacific Bell, Southern Bell, all the
Right.
Bell companies that kind of had a monopoly on telecommunications. So you couldn't
Yeah.
call long distance or have your local phone service or anything without going through like one of these companies. And of course, during that time too, you know, pagers were still in play. Cell
Mhm.
phones were kind of like, you know, in the beginning of cell phones, they were still kind of expensive and not accessible to a lot of people on the lower in the lower income areas. So, you know, through this deregulation, there were opportunities for independent companies to get into the telecommunications business, and it was opportunity for especially lower income people, especially like in you know urban areas and Black communities and minority communities that were underserved. There were
Mhm.
opportunities to be able to have long distance service, man, without having a credit check. Seems weird in 2026, but this was the case back then, you know, and being able to have like, you know, less expensive home telephone service and to
Right.
be able to offer prepaid services as well. So, you know, people were offering prepaid telephone services at lower
Yeah.
rates than the Bell companies. And then prepaid cellular phone services, as well. Up to this point, people were paying almost $1 a minute in some instances, for cell phones, man. It was still like super expensive.
Yeah.
For yeah, you guys remember that, man.
Yeah.
So this kind of helped, like the prices come down, even like on paging services, man. Pagers were still popular, in these days, and this particular guy that I met when I was working at the gym, he said that there was this telecommunications company and they're offering these prepaid services that were accessible and that really bridged the telecommunications gap, in the United States. And we're offering services to primarily lower income individuals, and they were looking for someone that represented not necessarily the Black community, but that could like reach like a more younger urban audience who could benefit from these services. And so we were talking, and of course they knew I was a college student. I was in a master's program, and man, I was also a business person, as well. And so I operated some businesses like just while I was in college, and I was pretty business savvy person. And so he's like, look, man, I'd love to introduce you to like this guy as the CEO of like this telecommunications company. You kind of tell you like what he's looking for. I met with him and they said, look, we would love to like, work with someone who's a national figure that, maybe in the music business or film, television, entertainment. They threw out a couple of different options. We want to form this company. Do you know anybody? And so I didn't know anybody, man. And so I live in New Orleans, but I'm not from New Orleans. I don't really have any entertainment connections. I know people here and there, but not really like on that scale. So, but I told them, and this is what every great entrepreneur, man. I mean, if you're a good entrepreneur, you always say yes.
Yes.
If you can do something, hey, man, always yes.
Yep. Yes is always the answer.
You know what I mean? So they gave me really like one of these type deals, almost like a music industry type deal, right? Where they said, look, we'll give you 90 days to bring us a person that like we approve that could be the face of our telecommunications brand. And these are some people like we're interested in. Outkast was on the list. Russell Simmons was on the list. I mean, several people are on this list, right? Like people that they were interested in working. This is a national, company. They just happen to be based in New Orleans, but they serviced all throughout the United States. And so, so they said, look, man, 90 days, if you can bring us a deal, then, we'll give you a percentage of the company. We'll give you like a certain amount of money, like as a bonus for like bringing this person in. And it'd be an opportunity for you, as a young, business person to like really get some exposure. And I was like, man, these guys have no idea. I'm sitting in the boardroom, man. It's like 12 white guys in the boardroom. Everybody's in a suit, I'm sitting in there with like jeans and a hoodie. And but I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm going to make this happen. So, man, within 30 days, I started like tracking down people. I knew somebody who knew Baby, which is, Birdman now from Cash Money. I was able to get a meeting with Birdman from Cash Money. I talked to him about it, and he was like, man, like we are, they were either about to go on the Cash Money Rough Riders.
Let me see. Did I lose you? We ain't supposed to tell this story. Oh, the car failed.
Yeah, we got to tune in next time for this story.
Forwarded to an automatic voice message.
Juan.
Yeah, Eric.
is not available. At the tone, please.
You there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, all right. So we reached out to Cash Money initially, man, set up a meeting with Birdman, and we discussed everything with them, and they, during this time they were either about to go on the Rough Riders Cash Money tour, or they were coming off that tour. It was right around that time, so it really wasn't a good time for them, and so. Our thing was that, I'm in New Orleans. And so I wanted to kind of like reach out to people who were major in New Orleans first before I started, kind of reaching out to Atlanta or even some of my LA connections. I'm like, okay, let me try to, track down New Orleans people first. So I eventually found someone who was a manager of one of the No Limit artists, and he connected me with another guy named Bobby, Suave Bob, which was the chief financial officer for No Limit Records. And through Bobby kind of took us under his wing, and he was like, man, let me get you in contact with Master P's lawyer. And, from there, man, we were like off to the races. So, we finally set up a meeting with P, and I'm like, man, I'm literally going into like the No Limit offices in Baton Rouge, and I'm pitching, I'm like, hey, man, you guys, you had a movie called I Got the Hookup. And I was like, here's your real life opportunity to own, a telecommunications company with, and partner and actually like offer these phone services, man. It just makes sense. And so, P invited me out to his house, and he had a house then in Baton Rouge. He had a house in Houston, and everywhere, man. He had a house everywhere in those days, man. He had a house
here in California. He had houses everywhere.
All over the place, man. So he was like, look, man, I'm gonna be at my house in Baton Rouge. Let me think about it, and let me try to put together some numbers. And so I said, look, man, if I could bring you in for a meeting like with these guys and we partner, this is going to be a huge thing for me, man. I explained who I was, and I was, man, I'm trying to like make this happen. And, if I'm able to like bring you in and meet with these guys and you guys do a deal, then like, this could be a win-win for everybody, man. And so, they kind of brushed me off, bro. You know what I'm saying? They kind of little broed me a little bit, like, who, is this guy serious? Is he for real? Yeah, right. Exactly, man. They little broed me. The lawyer started hating on me. And, and the lawyer kind of started, digging around and, digging into my background, and he's telling P like, man, this guy is just a college student, man, and he's a party promoter. I did a lot of parties, in New Orleans. I promote college parties and nightclubs and all that. And so he was like, man, this guy is not, he's not really a serious business guy. He's just a young kid. And but P, man, he believed in me, bro. And he invited me to his house, man, in Baton Rouge, the same house that was on the Cribs episode back in the day. Mm-hmm. So he invited. He said, "Look, man, we're gonna be shooting a TV show, out at the house. Like on this day, I got some people coming through. I got Suave Bob, the guy that had been kind of helping me out. He was gonna be there. He said the attorney's gonna be there, and some family." And he said, why don't you guys come on out? And he said, bring the white boys with you. That's what he would always call them. He's like, bring the white boys with you. And these were the guys who own the telecommunications company. And so, look, I told Leo, I said, look, man, we all going to go out here. We all going to do this final pitch. I told them guys, I said, look, bring a contract with you. Like, bring a contract. Right. So, man, we went in for the final pitch, man. I told P, I said, look, man, this could be No Limit Communications, man. We tie this into the music part of the business. We tie this into all the business stuff you're doing now. He was doing clothes and everything else at the time. And I told him, I said, man, we tie this into like the films, everything that you're doing, we tie this in. And so, you know, little did I know, man, they were literally filming the first episode of Cribs that day. So I'm like actually in the first episode of Cribs, man. I'm sitting on the couch when they're in there filming, man. Yeah. So that day, man, the first episode of Cribs, like in his office, man, where he had all like the platinum plaques and you know the awards, you know, we literally signed that agreement that day, man. So I became business partners with Master P. I was a part owner of the business, and man, I secured a sweet little bonus, you know, from those guys just being able to like get Master P to the table, man. So
right.
And so yeah, bro,
a finder's fee.
You know, yeah, nice little finder's fee, and I think we ended up owning something like 5% of the business at the end of the day, man. And so yeah, that's how No Limit Communications was created, man. And yeah.
Shout out to you for that, Juan.
Yeah, man. That's great.
Man, that was a great time in life, man. And you know, able to meet a bunch of people. Went on tour with like Master P and all the No Limit people, man. And you know, Yin Yang Twins were just coming out. They were on tour with us, and Genuine was on that tour. And man,
big tour.
So many like those great old school acts. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so yeah, we went on tour like promoting No Limit Communications part of it, and I was, you know, I would host like that part of the show before P came on. He was like always the closer. And so I would get on there, man. I'll tell people about like the business and you know, people go to the website and sign up, man, for all everybody had the little Master P phones and stuff, man. So
I got the hookup,
man. It was a whole different story, man. But we eventually sold that company. We came out to Las Vegas to the Consumer Electronics Show that they have like every year, where they
the big
like all these, the big convention, man. Came out here, met with this company called VTech, which makes like a lot of children's electronic games, and man, met with Russell Simmons. That was the first time I met Russell Simmons. And man, you know, just the opportunities that it kind of like opened up, you know, for me, man. It was great. So yeah, eventually sold that money, man, and you know, we made a little money off of that deal, and you know, man, I ended up having a great relationship, you know, with Master P, and I tell you what, man, I mean, he single-handedly, I mean, they were trying to kill the deal, man, and he single-handedly kind of kept that deal alive, and really
that's what's
gave me,
shout out to Master P for that.
And that took
shout out to Master P, man, because like, he put me on, and that's a real dude, man. Even after we sold the business, the last time we really had a, you know, business conversation, man, he stayed on the phone with me for about 3 hours after we sold it, and we were just talking. He was like, man, this is just the beginning for you, and you know, we kind of went through all the things, man, and he spent about 3 hours with me, man, and you know, just kind of like talking business and kind of giving me some game. And so that's definitely like a real dude. And so that's
a real
one since real one since the beginning, man, since day one.
Now I tell people, man, you need a first plan to get you started.
Yeah.
And then you need the first plan to get you to the second plan, because the plan you start with won't be the plan that gets you to the finish line. But it gets you, first plan just gets you started. And then you figure out, okay, I got to adjust this, I got to adjust that. And then, you know, you come up with a second plan in order to get you to stabilize. Then you got another plan to grow. Then you got another plan to sell or get acquired. And it sounds like that's what you did, man. You just kept implementing new strategies and made it work, man. And it's a success story for real. Even though you're still in the middle of it, the story.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not over yet. In many ways, I feel like I'm starting over just because I feel the world has changed so much, man.
Yeah.
Um, you figure that Master P deal, man, that was in 2000, man. That was 26 years ago.
Wow.
And I was a young guy, man, just getting into the whole world of business. And man, I could have never imagined that fast forward 2026 and you have social media, the way it is, and
Right.
we're able to. I mean, even being able to FaceTime someone, man. You guys know, man, that was a dream. That
Hmm.
was like
Yes.
that was the Jetsons, man. That was a
Yeah,
fan.
the Jetsons. Right. Right. Yeah.
So so
Definitely.
I mean, man, business was totally different. In those days, we couldn't even dream of the things that we're doing now. So, being able to kind of like, live through those times and now kind of being on the other side of that as a person that's, like I feel like I'm in so many ways, man, like just a older person in the game, right? And
Mm.
so, when I'm working with some of my partners who are like, some cases, man, almost 20 years younger than me, I'm just, man, I'm blown away by the things I'm still able to learn and the tools that they have at their age. And I'm like, man, if I'm thinking, man, if I would have had social media, if I had Instagram back in the day, man, I've
Right.
really been killing the game. You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah.
So yeah.
Man, well, listen, Dave. Like I say, I don't know if you want to add, if you want to close out with anything, you know, to kind of wrap up how you feel about this interview.
Well, I feel it's a great interview. I just had one question. It's a two-part question, but how did it feel to get that first $1 million check, and how did it feel to what was that feeling when you went to go buy the Rolls Royce and pull off in that Rolls Royce that you paid cash?
Right. Every, I feel I feel like I tell you what, man. This is one quote by Kanye West when he's
Hmm.
like, "Everybody wants to know what would have happened if I didn't win." And
Right.
then he says, "I guess we'll never
I
know."
guess.
And so every time,
Yeah.
hey, look, man. Every time someone,
Love it.
for real, man.
Love it.
Every time someone asks me that, I'm like, man, listen, man. I don't know. I always felt that one day that's just how it would happen.
Right.
Like
You knew it would happen, right?
I knew it would happen, man.
Yes.
I
Yes.
I didn't know if it was going. I mean, look, man. I've been doing this all my life, so I didn't know if it was going to happen at 30. I didn't know if it
Right.
was going to happen at 40. But
Uh-huh.
I knew that I was going to get to that point, man, where it was going to happen, man. Like
Yes.
my mom would call me, like every time she would call me on the phone, she would
Hmm.
always ask me, like back in the day, she would always ask me, hey, are you a millionaire yet? And that'd be the first thing that she would ask me,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
it would be kind of half joking, but half serious. You know how moms are, like,
Yeah.
are you,
But
baby,
she knew too. She knew.
getting to it.
Yeah.
Right. She's like, you getting to it, don't give
Yeah.
up on your dreams, And
Yeah.
so, but she would always ask me that. And the
Hmm.
best feeling in the world is like one day, I told her, I said, Mom, you don't have to ask me, no more. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You don't you don't have to ask me like no more. So now when she calls, she asks me if I'm a billionaire. So now she really putting the pressure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Most
She
definitely.
really putting the pressure on me. Now I'm like, man, I thought I made it. so,
Keep going.
so
Keep
yeah,
going.
a whole, right. Now it's a whole, whole new set of, like aspirations, man. But
Hmm.
just to like answer the question, man, it's a great feeling. First of all, just for my family, man, because
Yeah.
they were all with me on that journey. Like
Hmm.
every sacrifice I had to make, they had to make, right?
Right, right.
Like there were times, man, like where I would, miss, my son's basketball game, or I missed a
Mm-hmm.
football game. And, one of the
Yeah.
things that hurt me the most, man, is that I missed like the daddy daughter dance, and
Oh
because
yeah.
take care, like, or something that was just really important business on that day. And like a lot of times, kids don't understand because,
Yeah.
when you're an entrepreneur, man, it's not like a regular job. I don't get off
Mm-hmm.
at like 4 o'clock and then, come home and I got the rest of the day to myself. And so, there
Right.
are so many times where I feel like I missed out on so many things. And then also, like, if you're a business owner, if you're sick, guess what? Nobody cares, man. Like they want
Nobody
you to show up
cares.
and make sure you had that peach cobbler order. You know what I mean? So, like man, it doesn't matter. Like you got to keep showing up. So, when, man, that day that I knew the first payment was coming, and literally the first, and we had already been franchising for like, almost a year at that point. So, man, I had
Right.
been making some really good money, man. It's really good money up to that point. So
Right.
I was definitely not in the same position as I had been when I was just running, just the single stores, and
Uh-huh.
definitely wasn't in the position that I was in, of course, during COVID. So I was enjoying some success, man. I was going to the Laker game and sitting courtside and high fiving LeBron, and so yeah, I was
Yeah.
I was already starting to live that life.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, man, when that day, man, that check, that first wire actually hit like my account, it was surreal, man. It was almost like unbelievable. Like my whole life flashed, like in front of my eyes, man, and I
Mm-hmm.
really thought about all the ups and downs and all the sacrifices and all the negative comments, on
Yes.
social media, and all the
Yeah.
lies and all the bad terrible things that had to go through. And just, it all hit me at one time, man. And matter of
Yeah.
fact, I mean, I just kind of had to get myself together and get my
Mm-hmm.
emotions together, because I'm like, you know what, I may have some problems in the future,
Mm-hmm.
but I know that, like, this was a goal that I had set for myself even as a kid, and I was
Yes.
able to like reach that goal. So I was like, I don't know what the future holds, and I'm sure life's gonna have like its share of like ups and downs, man. Just because you make some money doesn't mean that life won't life, right? I mean,
Right. Right. Right.
there's still gonna be like, challenges, and there's still gonna be things that you're gonna have to overcome. But I was like, man, I just took a deep breath and I just took it in, man, really,
Mm-hmm.
that like, this part of life is behind me. And
Yes.
uh,
Yes.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so
Yeah. Yeah.
it's like like Meek Mill like said, if I ever cry again, it's gonna be in a Rolls Royce.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
you know,
Right.
and that's real, because that don't mean that life is gonna stop throwing L's at you, and you
Right.
still gonna go through it. But
Yeah.
it's like,
Mm-hmm.
on the other side of things, man, it definitely feels good. And especially like then in that moment, it felt like that, I reached a level that I just wanted for all my life, man. When I
Mm-hmm.
was a kid and they said, like, what do you want to be when you grow up, man? I didn't know how I was going to get there. I just said I want to be rich. I didn't know how
Right.
I was going to get there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. Same here.
I didn't know. Some kind of way, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Man, listen, man. We appreciate you spending this time with us, man. We had some.
For sure.
I think this show was kind of, it defines entrepreneurship
Yeah.
because all the drop calls and just all the malfunctions that we had, and we kept pushing. That is
Yes.
like a major part of what it takes to be an entrepreneur. We in the process of
Absolutely.
doing some business down here. We're going to talk about it a little bit off the air.
Mm-hmm.
We're not ready to unveil it yet, but I definitely won't need you as a mentor.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll be paid. But definitely, you know, to help support us in our endeavors. You know Nashville better than I do. And, you know, I already got Big Fella and the whole squad, you know, but I definitely need somebody that's been through it and to help, you know, just help guide the way. So I look forward to working with you in the future, man. I appreciate you spending your time with us.
Yes, thank you, Juan.
Man, listen, man, I love hanging out with you guys. And I tell you, you guys got some exclusive, some of the stuff that I hadn't even talked about like before on the podcast. You know, a lot of times I'll get on the show, man, and you know, I'll only talk about franchise and only talk about one thing. So, you know, it's really, man, great being able to kind of talk about like the entire journey with you guys. And of course, you guys kind of know like firsthand and up close some of the challenges in Nashville. So it's great to be able to kind of talk about that. You know, now I've been on the other side of that, man. And then too, you know, just, man, shout out to like my mentor, Dale Freeman. I mean, really, man, those types of people that come into your life, man, very special. You know, it's something that it's just, you know, one of those life-changing things, and he was that life-changing person for me, man. And so, you know, anybody that's out there and you listen to this, if you are a person that's had some success in business, man, reach back and you know, work with some other, you know, younger people coming along. You know, it goes a long way being a mentor to someone. I'm trying to do a lot of that because I don't think I'd be here telling this story if it wasn't for Dale Freeman, it wasn't for me having a business mentor that was able to kind of come in during one of the toughest times in my life. So thanks for having me, guys, and I look forward to working with you guys on some projects in the future.
All right, man. Peace, Juan.
Thank you. You are a pattern disruptor.
You definitely a pattern disruptor,
hey, man. Appreciate that.
Oh yeah, peace.
Appreciate that, man. All right, man. Y'all have a good one, man. Good evening.
You too. Peace out, brother.
Okay.